How's it going, everybody? Mike here. November 3rd, Merch by Amazon sales update. I'm just going to review the first 2 days of November to give you guys kind of an idea of what's been going on, how sales are going. I know a lot of people have messaged me with I guess, worries that sales were dropping off. As you can see, I had a few days last week as well where it went below 10, which is definitely something that hasn't happened in about a month and a half. Yesterday we got the announcement about phone cases, so who knows? Maybe things are happening, and so that's why I'm here to share this kind of information. Before I get into my sales numbers, I wanted to ask you guys to leave me a comment down below with questions, because what I'm going to do over the next few days is go through my whole account history and talk to you guys about kind of mistakes that I feel that I made, things that I wish I knew differently. I've seen these videos on YouTube for pretty much anything. It's kind of like 10 things that I wish I knew when I first started. I'm not going to do that, but I will actually take you guys through the whole history, because, and this kind of happens, and I wouldn't say too often, but from time to time, when I throw this chart up, people are very surprised to see that that sales don't simply shoot up. So and people are genuinely surprised, and I completely understand why. And I think I kind of want to be part of the group that busts these myths about getting a Merch by Amazon account or any print on demand account or any business in general, and that once you kind of taste a bit of an uptick in sales or success, that's the only direction that you can go in. So what I'm gonna do is, like I said, I'm gonna talk about when I was in tier 10, what I wish I did, and I've talked about some of these things before, but I'm gonna take my time and take you guys through it, because people, again, they see certain channels and videos on YouTube, and they think that this is very unrealistic. I've been actually watching people on YouTube for a couple of years, even when I started, who are simply not working with Merch by Amazon anymore because they didn't make it through this. They didn't make it through these dips. Now, one thing about me is, and I've said this before, there's no way I'm going to give up, right? This kind of stuff doesn't, discourage me, because I have 6 other things that I'm working on. I love Merch by Amazon. I'll, never give it up. But just because there's a month because of a pandemic where we get 0 sales, or where I go a whole year without cracking 200, there's no way that I'm stopping, right? So anyways, I'm going to talk about all that. Ask me any specific questions you guys might have, and I'll try to answer them. Now let's get into November. So last month, just to kind of recap, was a record month when it comes to amount in sales, which was over $10,000. And I'm just talking about the US here. Actually, this is that chart. We're talking about this one here. It was 10,423 with just over $2,300 in royalties, which is amazing. Now, I was kind of doing the math, and where I want to be is maybe close to 20 sales a day on average to beat that, because ideally I want to hit that 600 sales mark. Now, the expectation is that November just on its own will give us those kinds of results. But I don't want to just kind of hope. I want to look at, my actual numbers and sales. So Monday, which was November 1st, 14 sales, which was actually pretty solid, because I was still kind of in a bit of a, I don't want to say shock, but I was a little disappointed in a few days where I dropped below 10. So seeing that uptick was kind of nice. And then yesterday, which was the 2nd, I had 18 sales. And again, this is just the US market. So, $46 in royalties, $75 in royalties, not so bad. Right now, I'm recording this around noon. So today is starting out a little slower, but not a concern, because, I've had days like this where it starts out slow and then it picks up later on in the day. Total this month is 38 so far. So this is kind of the average that I'm looking for overall, because like I said, if I hit that 600 mark, I'll be happy, and then my royalties will be probably better than they were last month, and then that's the momentum that I want in Q4. As you can see here, this was the first 14 sales in the US, and then I had one in France. Yesterday, 18 sales in the US, and then I had one in, what is this? I can't see the numbers, but we can look up the marketplaces in a different chart. So anyways, I had 20 sales in total. And then today, so far, I have 3. So, nothing to kind of celebrate, but again, very solid days. The 7-day average is still what I would say at the lowest point since probably the beginning of, let's say, mid-September, because so that that's actually a pretty significant. So if this goes back up to where it was at its peak, which was about 150 to 170, I think there was a day where I had 175. That's what I want to see. But again, we'll see. The other thing that I wanted to mention is one thing that I've noticed, and this is happening slowly, even though my bestseller is responsible for about 50% of my sales, it's not responsible for 80% of my sales anymore. So there was a shift in the number of products that are selling. And this is actually what I kind of anticipated with Q4. I thought that there were going to be more and newer and different products selling, which is exactly what's happening. So that does make me happy. I'm not happy that my bestseller is slowly dropping off, but still getting 10 sales in a day for one shirt is amazing. But this also makes me happy, like seeing all these other products sell. And that's the same case here for November 1st. Pretty much half, just over half, was the bestseller, and then everything else. Like I'm getting, throw pillows, I'm getting long sleeve shirts, which is something that I don't get almost ever. So that's nice to see. That's probably the last observation that I've made. Besides that, like I said, I'm very happy. $122 in royalties in the first 2 days, $660 in sales, in 2 days. I guess 2.5 days, which is amazing. I haven't done these kinds of numbers in a while, I guess, until maybe September. So overall, I'm feeling great. Like I said, I'm the last thing I'll mention is leave me those comments and questions, because I want to talk about this. And I was thinking about this. There's definitely nothing that I need to hide from you guys. I'm doing these update videos, like I said a while ago, honestly, to help, because if somebody's new, I would say don't make the same mistakes that I did. You guys are not even though you're probably my competition, but I'm not sharing any designs. I'm not sharing anything where it would kind of hurt my sales. So I absolutely have no agenda here but to actually share this with you guys, share this kind of information. So that's what I'm saying, especially if you're kind of newer, and if you're for a second surprised that this could happen to anybody because of anything that you've heard online, then drop me a question, because I want to answer it. Because I think it's very, very important to have, I guess, realistic expectations about merch, about business in general, because I'm sure you've heard the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's the same thing with business. Because, for example, if this is your only source of income, then I would think that you're doing things wrong. Let me just before I go, I'll show you guys one more thing. Okay, here it is, just a second. So I wanted to drop this here. So for new people, for example, or anybody who's kind of exploring making money online or whatever, and I know I've attempted to talk about trading multiple times on this channel. I know you guys aren't into it, but this is, for example, like some of the other stuff that I'm working on. Like so far today, I made $411. So that's, sometimes there have been months with merch where it's taken me half a month, a whole month to make that kind of money. And that's the point that I'm trying to make with this graph here. Because if you're relying on this or anything else, just one thing, unless it's like a very strategic, business plan that you're furthering, do not think that this kind of stuff can't happen to you. And it's very, very smart to not be in a situation where this kind of stuff would result you in not being able to pay your bills or anything like that. I've talked about some of the other things many times on this channel where I sell. It's Etsy. I have a website. It's Redbubble. eBay is now slowly picking up. And some of these sites will make me like, I don't know, $30 a month. Others will be, hundreds. Sometimes I'll crack 1,000 with other websites. And I kind of feel like overall that's the situation that you want to be in, because even if my sales drop to zero and I lose this, I'm still okay, completely fine, right? But I think it's important to be able to help each other with any kind of feedback, advice, and that's why I do these kinds of videos, to show you guys, hey, this is what's selling. This is the kind of activity that I'm seeing in tier 20,000. Let's talk about why they would stop selling cell phone cases, and then I'll do some niche research through Merchant Forum, or I'll talk about Vexels and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make here. But in the next couple of days, I will put out that video, and I want you guys to kind of be involved. So anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I feel like I've talked for a while, and I'll see you guys soon.